Hello?
Oh my god, did you hear?
Oh, I'm itching to tell you something.
Itching to Tell You investigates.
Welcome back to another instalment of the Itching to Tell You Investigate series. Today I'm down in the National Hairloss and Scalp Clinic in Cheveux Salon in Tullamore to talk to Trichologist Michelle Christle. Now, a trichologist is an expert in hair and scalp related issues, and today Michelle has very kindly offered to talk us through the services that they offer here in the salon. Michelle, I think the best place to start is, why is it that people generally come into you in the scalp clinic?
I think they come in if they have issues of like hair and scalp, but if it's troublesome or concerning, so they can have, a correct diagnosis and an answer to what's happening to them, and then maybe a treatment plan depending on what I see or what's happening with them.
Talk me through the process then. So someone makes an appointment with you, they come on in here to the clinic, where do you go from there?
Okay, so firstly, when they telephone, Jenny will take the appointment, but she will ask for three things. So firstly, a list of medications, or bring the medications with you if you are on medication. Your hair products that you're using, home care routine, anything you're using, gels, hairsprays, anything like that, bring that with you. And then I'll ask you not to wash your hair for 3 days, which can be quite, people are like, I haven't washed my hair for 3 days. The reason being is it gives me a correct read on the scalp. I can see, oil levels, etc. And then when I'm looking for hair loss, I get a correct read with that. So then when they make the appointment, they come into the clinic. It's an hour-long consultation. I will ask them some personal questions, which is all GDPR protected. Mm-hmm. Then I'll move on to some medical and lifestyle questions. Then I will get a typical day in their diet, because diet is everything.
Yes.
It's gut, and scalp and hair, it's heavily linked. And overall health, it's linked as well, diet. So I'll ask them what they have for breakfast, what they have for lunch, and what they have for dinner. And then I will get an overall understanding of their lifestyle, maybe their occupation. We'll talk a little bit about stress levels. And it gets me to understand what exactly is happening with them on an everyday, basis.
What's causing it?
Yeah. And then I will ask them about their home care routine, because some issues are external. Okay. So they could be, having a reaction to their shampoo. So I'll have a look at that, I'll look at the ingredients, and that's why it's important for them to bring the products with them so I can have a look. Then when we've discussed everything like that, I will then put on the dermoscope, which I'll show you in a while, which I will zoom into the follicle and the hair shaft, and we'll see exactly what's going on. It magnifies it so I can see, get a deeper feel of what's going on. And then I'll have a physical, feel of the scalp and visual look. Then we'll sit back down and we'll have a chat and we'll decide on treatment plans and go from there.
Mm-hmm. And what treatment is it that you do offer here? You offer a number of treatments.
We offer a number of treatments. So scalp related, we offer kind of exfoliating treatments, which would remove, for, say, example for psoriasis, so the heavy kind of plaques if you have, built up psoriasis. We offer sebum regulating treatments. So what that means is oily scalp. Sebum is the gland in your head, not to get too technical, but some people suffer with overproduction of that. So we have a sebum regulating treatment, and then we have oxygen therapy. So what we do with the oxygen therapy is it's based on scalp or hair loss, and we bespoke the treatment depending on what your needs are and what I see, underneath the camera, etc. And then we have a separate area which is attached to the clinic as well, which is kind of wig and prosthesis scalp clinic also. There we have trained experts within the salon that deal with that solely.
And you offer a service here, or a treatment more so, that isn't widely available in Ireland. You mentioned it there, it's the oxygen treatment. So Absolutely. Could you tell me a little bit more about the oxygen treatment?
So oxygen therapy is based on the principle of the top layer of the skin doesn't have a blood supply going to it. It relies on either coming in from external environment or basically deeper within the skin to feed the cells. So therefore it needs oxygen. So the transition of pure oxygen in through the skin helps promote healing, cell regeneration, and balances your scalp back, and in turn, helps the follicle to promote hair growth. It's a technology that's only just, in recent years come to light, and we see amazing results with it. And then it's 90% pure oxygen on its own. We bespoke the treatment then according to your condition. So with hair loss, we will put a certain ingredient into the machine, and then with scalp issues, we'll put a different ingredient. It's all done. And this is pumped out in a mist like you'll see in a minute, and it's hydrating and rebalances. It's amazing. We see great results with it.
And what products do you use in that, and why is it? You were saying about you use different kind of products or ingredients for different types of issues or needs.
The range that we use with the machine is all natural, all vegan. There's too many ingredients to just name, okay? They actually have a lab in Italy where they have like organic farms and everything, where they grow all the herbs and all different manner of things that go into the products. But like, for example, for cell regeneration, we have hyaluronic acid, which goes into the product for further deep healing. Then we've got things like sweet almond oil, designed, I suppose for drier scalps to help rebuild the moisture levels. Again, rosehip oil is another one. And then chamomile lotion is within the chamomile extract is in some of the products to promote soothing and calming. Mm-hmm. There's so many ingredients, from grape seed extract to red grape, lotus flower. You could go on and on and on. But each one has a specific target, if you will, to help soothe or regenerate or moisture or balance. They all do a different thing.
And what effect does the oxygen treatment have on the scalp? If we think of a person with psoriasis in particular, after you would do the oxygen treatment, what would you expect the results to be?
Okay, so you'll need a minimum maybe of 4 to 6 with a scalp condition, and that's once a week coming to the salon, to the clinic to have it done. So firstly, a grapeseed extract prebiotic goes onto the scalp gel for about 10 minutes. And this is to rebalance the flora. And this is really also because when the balance is out, it's just like your gut, you get the redness and the irritation. So that's to calm down and decongest, if you will, the scalp. So we'll see some of the plaques come off there. Or if you have milder psoriasis, we'll see the redness kind of dissipate a little bit. Then the pure oxygen will go on with maybe the whichever treatment that we choose to put in, and we'll see the scalp calm down. You will have relief of itching. That's a huge thing that people say to me, that they notice straight away that the itching has kind of calmed down, and that burning feeling and that tightness. Sometimes people have that helmet tight feeling they describe. That will actually calm down too. But you need a couple of weeks, to see, maybe 2 to 3 weeks to see a change, and then a minimum of maybe 4 to 6 to kind of relieve. Depending on how bad the condition is, you might need less. Everyone's treatment is tailored personally to them.
And would the goal of the oxygen treatment be that it would nearly clear that built up plaque?
Yes. Now, in heavy caked areas, we would, recommend that you put maybe something like rosehip oil on or almond oil the night before, because that helps us. And then we use the scalp scrub to remove the heavy built up plaques. And then, really and truly, if you've got really heavy built up plaques, the oxygen trying to get in there and the product, it's exactly like, if you're using steroid cream, if the plaques are removed, it can fix that area a lot better, heal it and soothe it a lot better. If the plaques are in the way, it's nearly a barrier.
It's not going to get through.
Yeah. So that's what we would do. So the aim is to remove that so that the pure oxygen can just rebalance and promote ultimate healing of the skin.
And in your experience, From someone experiencing hair loss and thinning, what effect does that have on a person?
It's really debilitating. They feel completely vulnerable and almost they go through the stages of grief. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with grief, but it goes from disbelief to anger to sadness, and they come into the clinic and they feel guilty because they might have a friend that's going through treatment and they're like, well, you know, they're going through treatment, maybe chemotherapy. I hear this time and time again. They're like, I feel so guilty for feeling this way. And I'm like, I know it's a cliche, but your hair is your crown and glory. It defines us.
It's your identity.
It's like your scalp condition as well. People feel self-conscious with that. And I do feel that people shouldn't feel that way because everyone has the right to have those feelings. And some people break down. And it's hard, Zoe, to see someone, you know, feel that vulnerable and broken inside. They stop meeting people. They stop seeing their friends with extreme scalp issues or hair loss. And it's very hard. It's very hard. But we're here to reassure them, you know, that we can do as much as possible with treatment plans to help them and to try and alleviate the situation.
Mm-hmm. And am I right in saying that with some kind of hair loss or thinning conditions, that hair loss and thinning can be permanent, but with psoriasis that it's not necessarily permanent?
No. So basically all hair loss is caused by really inflammation at some level. And they all kind of are the immune system nearly attacking themselves. Not them all, but the majority. But with the psoriasis so much, it's only a temporary hair loss because it doesn't affect the area that the hair regenerates. So once you get your psoriasis under control, your hair loss should come back. It's very, very small cases that it will be permanent. It's just kind of getting the psoriasis under control.
Because I know the last time that I was in with my hair salon and my stylist that I felt that my hair was gone quite thin in patches. Now this would have been at the height of summer when I find that my psoriasis is really quite thick and flares up, but I was really starting to worry because I find year on year it's as if every summer it feels thinner. And I remember my stylist kind of reassuring me saying, look, once your psoriasis clears up a bit in the winter when it's not as flared up, your hair will kind of come back to its natural thickness.
It will, and there are products that can promote and help, like multivitamin topical treatments that can help just feed that and you know help your hair, I suppose, feel more rejuvenated. Because if you're using things like some of the products that are designed there, like coal tar shampoo, etc., sometimes that can make your hair feel a little bit weaker with prolonged use. So, I mean, there are options out there, but normally once it clears up, it should regenerate itself and grow back just fine.
And you mentioned earlier on about when someone comes in for a consultation, you'll ask for them to maybe bring in the products they've been using at home, like their shampoos or whatever they're using on their hair. So in regards to shampoos, are there any shampoos that people who suffer from psoriasis should be maybe using or equally avoiding? Like, could you say to me, avoid sulfates, or, is there a certain ingredient?
Exactly. Paraben and sulfate free. So number one is your parabens are your preservatives that are popped into a shampoo to prolong its shelf life. They can be a kind of a known irritant. The same with sulfates. Sulfates are designed to give you that really nice lather, make you feel that deep clean. But what they can do is they can actually strip the hair of all the natural oils and dry the hair out. Sodium lauryl sulfate is a massive sulfate to avoid. So just go paraben and sulfate free. And then kind of avoid, hairspray because it's got alcohol in it and that can be drying and can be, even people that don't have any scalp issues, I often hear the common thing of, don't use any hairspray because it actually leaves me with an itch.
Okay.
Because of the alcohol content in it, it's naturally drying.
And then what about dry shampoos? Because I'm such a fan of dry shampoo, but I feel like they'd leave that kind of powder on your hair and probably cause an itch.
They unfortunately can block the follicle and dry out the hair. The same with any plumping kind of, the powders that you put on, or I find, the sprays that you use to camouflage your roots. What I would say is if you are going to go down the dry shampoo route, go to a salon and speak to a stylist and buy a professional brand.
Okay.
It's slightly more expensive, but will have the talc level will be less. So, you know, there are products out there that, you know, some of the cheaper ones would heavy talc would come out and you can feel that.
The supermarket.
Yeah, and well, yeah, there are some that are okay, but I think if you speak to someone like a stylist, for example, and you go into a salon and explain, look, I do have, you know, a scalp issue, what would you recommend? That's, you know, there are products out there that have less talc content and they're not as irritating.
Yeah.
So speak to you know, your stylist or your local salon about it.
Okay, and I feel like scalp scrubs are kind of like nearly like a buzzword at the moment. That people are all into the kind of pampering and wellness, and they talk about these scalp scrubs. And when I see them advertised, I'm thinking, like, is a scalp scrub for you? Would you think it's a yay or a nay for someone with psoriasis?
As I say, if you're using it at home and you've only got mild psoriasis, absolutely brilliant, okay? Once a week only, do not overdo it. Just like we use an exfoliator to slough off, you know, the dead skin, it's exactly what we're going to do with our scalp. You're clearing out the follicle of any, you know, debris maybe or anything that's been there, and it gives you a nice clean feel and just helps the scalp to breathe. But don't overdo it.
Okay.
If your scalp is broken or open, it's a no.
Yeah, because you don't want to irritate it really. When you're thinking of a scrub, some exfoliants for your face even, I find, or your body can be quite coarse. And I'm thinking if you're putting a scrub on the scalp, I think myself, I'm going, well, it sounds good that it would take off, as you said, that dead skin maybe, but I think you can probably overdo it with a strong one. You
can. You again go for more natural products. Try and also avoid anything that's got heavily perfumed, because that can be a known irritant. Or fragrances is a massive thing with psoriasis. So try and avoid those where possible. Stick to something that's plainer, as I say, a professional brand that's specifically targeted for scalp issues. I think that, you know, spend the money, but you will get it back in turn with the result.
I think the verdict is still out on, if you have psoriasis, how frequent should you be washing your hair? Because I find stylists will nearly say to you, like people even without psoriasis, they'll say leave it for as long as you can to let the natural oils. But then some people say that you should wash it more frequently because sometimes leaving the oils in your hair kind of starts to get itchy.
Yeah.
So from your experience and maybe speaking to clients and asking them, do you know what works for them? Do you think that the more frequent washing or the leaving it for as long as possible with the oils to do their work is what works good for people with psoriasis?
I think it depends on the person. It also depends on whether you've got really thick hair or really fine hair. I think that, you know, if you want to remove heavy plaques, you need to shampoo more often until you get that under control, and then maybe use an oil-based product to moisturize, or a scalp conditioner that basically is, you know, rebalances the scalp. I do think overwashing is a no-no because you are stripping the natural oils, but I think it all depends on the person.
Yeah.
You could have someone that they don't have as much oil on their head and it's only a mild case of psoriasis. They really shouldn't be shampooing their hair that often. And then you've got someone that whilst they have psoriasis, they can have oily areas and they feel that they need to wash their hair more often. So it all depends on the person. I just think don't underdo it and don't overdo it. I think that if you overdo it, you can cause more redness and you can actually break the skin. And I think that sometimes does happen from over shampooing.
People with psoriasis, they tend to have scalps that are quite sensitive. So in regards to dyeing your hair, I know that some dyes can have quite harsh ingredients in them. Would you say for people with psoriasis, would dyeing your hair be a no-go area, or is it a case of finding a dye that will be that more gentle?
Okay, so I think massively in the industry as a whole, for, you know, over the last maybe even 10 years, a lot of ingredients like PPD, for example, has been removed out of products, which was a known irritant and used to actually cause, you know, a reaction. A lot of brands now don't have that ingredient in them anymore. I think the safest thing to do is to go to a salon, speak to a stylist or a colorist, get a patch test done, and see what they say in regards to your psoriasis. Mild psoriasis, I wouldn't have any problem colouring someone's hair. As I say, the ingredients, like for example, our colour has one of the lowest ammonia contents on the market. So, you know, for me, it's a very, very gentle colour. If you had extreme psoriasis and the skin was broken or red or cracked, I would avoid colouring it until you get it under control. I don't feel that any hair colour should be put on an open wound. You know, open skin, that's broken skin. I don't feel it should be coloured. But as I say, like, colourists are amazing. So sit down, go into your local salon, have a chat with a colourist or the stylist. Some are just colourists, some are stylists and colourists combined. It just depends on which salon you go to. They're specialists in their game. Sit down and speak to them, get your patch test, let them look at your scalp and let them say whether or not you should colour your hair.
Would you think that people who have scalp issues like psoriasis, that they should maybe avoid the home hair kits because you don't know really what's in them?
I totally agree. I think that I think you should avoid it because they don't know. I don't even know what the level is of peroxide that's in them. At least with us, we know what levels of peroxide we're using with our colours. I don't know much about hair dye, like different brands, home kits, but I do know that I've seen, you know, scalp irritation from some brands. So I just think, yeah, again, trained professional all day long. I think see your local salon.
It probably saves you in the long term in regards to money. I know that the kit in the supermarket might be that bit cheaper, but it might cause you more hassle than good.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are fine, I'm sure. It's just at least with a salon, they know their ingredients and they know they're fully insured and they know what they're doing and they can patch test you first. A lot of people pick up maybe a home kit and they don't patch tests, and it does say it on the boxes, but I think that's where
does anyone really do it?
Yeah, I know, that's where it can go a bit wrong. So I do think, as I say, go to your local salon.
Now, you're a trichologist, so that's a specialist in hair loss and scalp related issues and diseases and so forth, but you started out as a stylist and you still are a practicing stylist. So what is it that made you want to get into trichology?
I'm a hair science geek. I love anything. No, I always loved science at school. And when I did my colour specialist degree, I loved the whole formula and the science behind it. I just loved everything about it. I wanted to be a trichologist for years and years and years and years, and I never had the time. And I finally found the time because it's a commitment, it's a lot of study. You know, you're going deep into even like, you know, the making of cells and elements and periodic tables and all different things
very
like
heavy
that.
science.
I never regret it. So that's what it is. I love science and I love hair, so it made sense to combine it. And I find it very rewarding that I can help people.
Was it a case of that as a stylist? Like, did you see people coming in with scalp related issues, and was there kind of any desire to think, I'd love to know more about this?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that, you know, proper diagnosis is key, as I've said before. And I think it's just, I have noticed, I don't know, has it come to light more? Hair loss and shedding issues over the last couple of years have become more common.
Okay.
So it's good to know exactly, you know, what's happening to people and reassure them and help them. As I say, there is trichologists all over the country, but in certain areas they aren't so local. So I think it's good if you can get to one to get them to look at you and have a consultation.
Yeah, because you're based in a hair salon. I know you have the clinic here, but you're not, we'll say, like a standalone big clinic off in maybe a hospital, so you're accessible to people.
Absolutely, and you don't need a referral to a trichologist, you just need to make an appointment. Whereas you do need, obviously with your GP, you make an appointment, but then if you need further investigation, you need your GP to do a referral to a dermatologist. So some people will use a trichologist almost as, you know, a bridge. So we will work alongside a dermatologist maybe, we will do our treatments here, and then a dermatologist will have a look at them and further investigate. I suppose to make sure that there's nothing sinister happening exactly, you know, maybe some of them will take biopsies to see what's going on, different things like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you found that it's becoming more common. Now, do you say that from that you see more people coming in when you're a stylist with it, or is it more people are coming to the consultation? I'm just wondering, is it's becoming more common, or is it more people are seeking kind of help?
I think people are seeking more help, and I do think at last the stigma of hair loss and scalp issues is starting to decline. I see more young guys who maybe are getting hair transplants and they're uploading their full journey on Instagram. If we think 20 years ago, you wouldn't speak of that. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, that needs to be promoted more, because it's not just females, it's males, it's both sexes that feel, you know, that, you know, the hair is very important. I have noticed, as I say, an increase in hair loss, and I think COVID has kind of created that because of the temperature. When they're having high fever, fever can cause a temporary hair loss, and because COVID is linked massively, one of the common symptoms is fever. We then see about 3 months after someone has been ill with COVID, could step into the 4th month.
Right.
An excess shedding sometimes, and this is called telogen effluvium, and that happens from fever. And then you can see telogen effluvium or excess shedding because people are just so stressed.
Yeah.
You know, staying at home, homeschooling, and I mean, I've seen it with friends trying to be on business calls whilst homeschooling and then maybe minding a toddler. I mean, the stress level of that, you're trying to do 3 jobs in one.
And of course that it's a deadly disease. Like, I think that plays on a lot of people's mind, that they're afraid to go out.
They are afraid. And I think as well, it's also the lockdown factor. A lot of people felt very anxious and very down and very alone.
And trapped as well.
Trapped. Yeah. So a combination of that, I think, has, you know, we've seen, and I think with scalp conditions, we've seen a lot of people have a trigger of psoriasis because of their stress levels, or they're trying to do too many things at once because they're at home and they're trying to do, you know, multitasking. And it's even like, you know, if you're at home and you've got a dog and you're on a business call, if the dog's barking, you know, things like that. I had a friend that said the dog wouldn't stop barking and they were on a business call with America. Yeah, so, but she was actually doing a presentation.
Oh, no.
So, and then when she left the dog at the door, it started barking at the door. So it was just you know, it's different. Yeah, so that can cause, it's a funny story, but you know, the moral of the story is it's stressful, you know, so different conditions can happen, you know, from underlying stress. And COVID has brought an awful lot of that on.
Yeah, and then I think what you said there about that people like document the journey more, and that's thanks to social media. Social media gets a very bad rep about the negative things that are on it, but I do think it's a great platform for the likes of, as you said, kind of people opening up and documenting the journey. So I think that social media in this day and age, as you said, it started that conversation and it's normalised scalp conditions, hair loss and things like that, that people probably do find that they can come and talk about it. I mean, I know personally from following your Instagram, the fact that you put up about the wigs and hair loss photos, it does make you feel like this is normal, other people are experiencing it, and it's as if you don't feel that burden on yourself that you know someone else is sharing that.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, like when you say the word wig, there can be that stigma attached to that, and really and truly you need to look at them like hair systems. Some of us have false teeth, you know, we've had Botox done, we've had different things done. It's no different. You know, they're built so amazingly now, you wouldn't even know the difference. So I think social media, number one, and then people's awareness generally, you know, we've changed. I think we've evolved and we're better for it. I don't think that there's so much of, as I say, that stigma surrounding it now. I think people are more open nearly with the fact that, I mean, we've no problem with wearing hair extensions if we find a hair. What's the difference with wearing a hair system that's just on the front? It's just hair extensions, except for it's just, there isn't any hair underneath. But to me, there's no difference.
And I think that we're more accepting and embracing of change, because I think that the kind of social media realm has become a place to celebrate difference. And I think that that's obviously helping people get that confidence and that they're embracing it.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, it brings back such confidence. I mean, we've got a client that's suffering from like kind of frontal alopecia. She's 82 and we put on a hair system on her, and she said she's starting to go out and meet her friends, and, she said she feels more confident, and people are asking her, did she change her hair or did she do something different? And you can see her. She's a beautiful soul as it is, but I just feel the confidence in her, and it just made her day when we heard that, that she can, gives her more confidence. So there's no age limit. There's, I think it's for everyone.
And as you said previously, like, that obviously is so rewarding, but I think that it's for people to know that, like, you're here to help. Like, all these services you offer, it's like, you're not saying there's any problem with hair loss. If you have hair loss and you're happy about it, that's fine. But if you're not happy with it, you have services here that can help somebody to get that confidence back.
There's always a solution. If the solution isn't, within the treatment realm, we've always got the pieces and the hair system. So there's always an answer.
Yeah, there's options.
There's options there. And I think we didn't have these options. I think we all, sometimes the older generation have this awful kind of toupee kind of feel that's swinging in the wind kind of thing. That day's gone.
Because a lot of people have probably been experiencing hair loss for years, and because of the options that came before weren't great options or a bit obvious, they've probably just put up with the hair loss, I'd say especially men. Whereas now you might say to them, well, you could rethink it if you're not happy with the hair loss.
The systems that are out there now, like they put on the top pieces, you can either get, if you were even thinning just on the crown area, you can get pieces that just go in and they have the swirl and the exact pattern of the crown and everything. And I mean, if you can swim and you can jog and you can go to the gym and do everything with that work and nobody would ever know, like, then it's a thing of why shouldn't people know? But then we get to the thing of people don't want people to know. But either way, you wouldn't notice. Your hair's cut into that specific style and you couldn't tell.
And I think that with all visual conditions that it can be very self-conscious for people, and that, they'll be very embarrassed about it. So the setup that you have here in the salon is great. It offers like a lovely private place because the salon's out there, we're down here in the clinic room, and it offers that anonymity for people.
Absolutely. I mean, when we get into the consultation, some of them can be straightforward, and then others, people could be suffering from post-traumatic stress. They're telling you things that they don't want to ever tell anybody else, maybe. They need to feel confident, and whatever happens within these four walls stays in these four walls. And then there's the other aspect of people are vulnerable. They feel embarrassed. Some people are embarrassed to maybe take off their headscarf or cap. They don't want to be doing that out on the salon floor in front of everyone. They want to feel comfortable when I'm examining them. And that's why I think the room is so important.
Coming to the salon, I know myself, is a daunting experience because you have to do that awkward thing of you're sitting waiting for your hair to be washed, and you've inevitably to tell the poor girl who comes to wash your hair, I just have a bit of psoriasis, don't mind that. So I think that few moments or even a few days after you make the appointment, when you know it's coming closer to the appointment time, it is quite daunting. You're thinking about it. And I just wanted to know if you have any advice for someone who is maybe thinking about that and they're feeling daunting and embarrassing about coming into the salon. Can you reassure them that, look, we have seen this time and time again, there's no need to feel nervous?
Absolutely. We've seen it time and time again, both as a stylist, as an apprentice, all levels in the salon. We have seen, different scalp conditions. I think the person is more conscious themselves, and the hairdresser, the hairstylist won't even really notice. Not that they won't notice, but they don't, take on board what you're feeling, as in you're feeling really self-conscious. We wouldn't feel that way when washing your hair. We wouldn't give it a second thought, really. Everyone's trained now. The education that's out there for different brands, all of them have scalp kind of products, and everyone is trained in the salon in what to use and when. So if they see that you have a scalp issue, they know which shampoo to use, and it stops there. They don't really think about it after that. I know that it can be a thing when you've got it and it's daunting when you come in, but honestly, hairstylists are, and barbers, trained professionals, they see it day in, day out. There's nothing to be embarrassed of.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for speaking to me about this today. I find that I've learned a lot about it, and I definitely myself feel better now about coming into a salon, that I don't even have to do the awkward, it's just psoriasis. I could just say nothing and that the stylist will just work with it.
Yep, absolutely, they will. They'll just work with it. As I say, time and time again they see it, so you know you're in good hands. No matter what salon you go to, Ireland has some amazing salons across the country.
Brilliant. Well, Michelle, thank you so much again. And now, after hearing all about the oxygen treatment, I'm really excited to try it out myself. So stay tuned, because Michelle's going to be talking us through what goes into the oxygen treatment and giving us a demo of how it works.
So Zoe, I'm going to put the dermoscope on you now. We're going to have a deeper look into your hair and your scalp. That's okay?
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
So this gives you a better kind of look at what you're dealing with.
I can see into your scalp, and I can see exactly how many hairs are coming out of your follicle, and I can see your scalp it looks good. You've just got some debris which could be removed. Do you think it's interesting?
Yes, it's just, it's disgusting looking, for want of a better phrase. You're like going, oh my God,
so here's an area where you've got, it's quite dry and it looks a little bit flaky, so you can see there. So if I just zoom in, you can see exactly what's going on.
It looks a lot more aggressive than I feel it actually is.
It's not, it's just that it's being magnified, but it gives me a better idea of exactly what's going on within your scalp. You can see the redness there, so that's obviously a little patch or a little area that you're struggling with.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of hair there. Would that be a thinner area?
It's your hairline anyway. So if I take, for example, if we do your crown looks a little bit drier as well there. So if I pop it on this area, you'll see the density of your hair is a lot thicker.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot more hair there. That's okay, I was worried there for a second.
No, don't worry. It's totally normal. It's exactly like getting an ultrasound. I'm just looking for different things. I'm looking for maybe a different hair pattern, like the scalp, how healthy it is. I'm looking for inflammation maybe around the follicle. I can see the way that's slightly drier there now, dehydrated down there. And I'm looking for empty follicles sometimes. I'm looking for absence of follicles. And it all kind of tells a story.
So as a whole now, from you looking at this, would you think that this looks like a healthy enough scalp?
Healthy enough scalp in areas, and it's actually, just lacking in hydration in some areas, but that is because you've got just, a couple of areas of psoriasis. Mm-hmm. But on a whole, it looks good and healthy. Okay.
So from this then, what's your next step?
After I've done the camera, I've put the camera on, then I will have a chat with you and say exactly what I find, what's going on, and what's happening, and what your treatment is going to be, and your treatment plan. Okay, so I'm going to use a calming shampoo on you first. This will calm down any redness or irritation. So we do 2 shampoos of this.
Is it just a standard that you should wash your hair twice, or any reason?
Yeah, the first only gets rid of the surface, okay, and then you're getting a deeper cleanse the second shampoo. Particularly if you've left your hair a while, what ends up happening is that you get a build-up. And do you ever feel like sometimes if you hadn't washed your hair in a few days that it actually doesn't lather on the first go?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because it's only cleaning off the surface. Does that feel good?
Yeah, that does. Okay, so I'll enjoy this.
You will enjoy it. The oxygen is it's very relaxing too. People do de-stress a lot with it.
And with the oxygen, is it only really used if you have a scalp issue, or do people do it as nearly like a pampering?
Well, I do think it is a thing in some beauty salons where pure oxygen can be used to promote, promote kind of anti-wrinkle, almost. It's can be designed for that. It's, for aging. So I don't know any salons that do it, but I think that it can be used for that as well.
Okay. Maybe you're more high-end notion-y.
Anti-aging is the word I'm looking for. give you a second shampoo.
So why is it that you wear the gloves for this?
Just because, you know, if you are very sensitive or whatever and we have nails or anything like that, it just kind of, it's more professional as well. You don't always have to use the gloves.
I thought it was perhaps maybe the ingredients or something that maybe they weren't.
No, they're all natural. And I don't wear gloves when I'm doing the oxygen treatment. Water okay?
Yeah. So do you do the oxygen treatment whilst the hair is still wet?
Absolutely, yeah. And then we dry it off. So the products that are diffused into the hair, they stay in the hair and they keep working for a few days.
Okay.
So they're not rinsed out. So the products that are put into the ingredients that are put into the oxygen machine.
And how long after getting the oxygen treatment do you recommend someone to rewash their hair?
At least leave it 2 days, I think, for the ingredients to kind of settle in, and you shouldn't need to wash it for 2 days after.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're applying the grapevine sap, and what this is a gel. It's a prebiotic gel, so as I said, just like your gut, it actually will balance the microflora on your scalp, because often scalp issues are caused by an imbalance of microflora. So this is popped on for 10 minutes, and it also is a decongestant, so it will clean out those areas that are heavily caked too. And then we'll proceed on to your oxygen treatment. We'll rinse this out and condition your ends, and then you'll be ready for your treatment. So this is the bespoke treatment designed for you going into the oxygen machine.
Would you ever use just the pure oxygen, or do you also add the ingredient in?
I tend to find that I use, you can use pure oxygen, but I like to add one of the soothing ingredients into it. It's a medical grade machine, pumps 90% pure oxygen into your scalp. You feel the product going on?
Feels kind of like it spurts nearly.
Rehydration of the scalp really is key. And also what it does is it creates a humid environment almost, that moisture environment. Because really humid conditions a humidifier is great in a room if you have psoriasis. I'm sure you've heard of that before.
No, I haven't.
Have you not? No, humidifier can be very good. Because if the environment's too hot or too cold, you will get a trigger. Everybody's different. Everybody has a trigger too. Some people it's food related, diet related. You know, others it can be, as you say, stress trigger or indeed lifestyle.
Now I know you're saying that you're rehydrating the scalp there, but as we were saying earlier, it all comes from within. So with somebody with, say, a scalp like mine, you can see it's quite dehydrated and everything. Would you be saying to them to up their intake of water on a daily basis?
Absolutely, you know, and it depends on the person, but really 2 litres a day is what you should be taking. Try and avoid dehydration, kind of acid type drinks like coffee, tea, anything like that. Avoid fizzy drinks. Dairy can be another massive trigger. And nightshade vegetables. I'm sure you've heard of that before.
Yeah.
Yes, nightshade vegetables. And there are many different things, but like a balanced, healthy diet really is, if you can try and do that 90% of the time, You know, if you have an odd takeaway now and again, that's fine. But if you can try and rebalance your diet, for healthy hair and healthy skin, you need a balance of carbohydrates, proteins, you know, good fats, amino acids. So, you know, all those are the building blocks of good hair. So this contains hyaluronic acid now, so it's giving you deeper promotion of healing as well. So it promotes healing, rebalance, rehydration, as well as the oxygen, the pure oxygen going in.
For more information on this topic, check out Itching to Tell You on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.